2010s saw a lot of growth for horror. I feel like, and I don't know how hot of a take this is going to be, I feel like with the passage of time, the 2010s will be seen as another golden age of horror because we saw a lot of forward momentum. We saw A24 come into their own. We saw Blumhouse come into their form to become a bit of a juggernaut. And yes, they technically were around in the mid noughties as well, but it was the 2010s where Jason Blum and Blumhouse really just started cranking them out. Quality aside, Blumhouse just became a horror movie engine. And again, very uneven in terms of quality, but they started cranking it up in the 2010s. However, the 2010s saw the return of a horror studio that had left quite an imprint in horror history, but had thought to have been long dead. But kind of like Dracula, it rose from the grave. Hammer Studios, and the first movie it made was The Woman in Black, starring Daniel Radcliffe, the first movie that Radcliffe did post Harry Potter. It tells the story of a young lawyer named Arthur Kipps, played by Radcliffe. He is going to this very, very scary looking house in the middle of England. It's called Eel Marsh House. And from the looks of it alone, you're just like, yeah, I'm turning the other way. You can't pay me enough to stay there. But he goes there anyway because he has some final paperwork to deal out. He's a lawyer after all. And well, scary things begin to happen. As I've talked about in ScaryMania's past, Hammer horror is a severely underrated part of horror history. It gave us not one, but two horror icons revised for the mid-20th century. Dracula, played by Christopher Lee, and Frankenstein, or well, the guy who created Frankenstein's monster, Baron Frankenstein, played by Peter Cushing. The two made those roles iconic and basically launched Hammer Studios to the forefront of UK cinema for a good few years. And that was partially because of Hammer. They basically updated the classics in color and upping a lot of things, including the blood. However, for financial reasons, Hammer went out of business. But in the 2010s, they made a triumphant return, and they are now going again. Maybe it's because I watched both this movie and the others around the same time. I felt kind of a similarity between the two. This is a very uneven movie. However, there are more than a few effective moments. It's a little slow to get going, though the atmosphere is very consistent. If Hammer does anything right, is just establishing the fact that this place that Daniel Radcliffe is going to is not a place that you regularly seek out. You don't look at a place like this house and just say to yourself, yeah, this looks pleasant. Let's Airbnb this thing. No, he's going there for business and business only. And he really does a good job of that. He's only there for a purpose. But then these ghosts start getting in the way of his purpose. It is very slow to get going. However, there are some unsettling moments here. I love the design of the villain. I love the design of the house. Daniel Radcliffe carries his weight in this performance as well. Really, though, I feel like, and again, maybe it's because The Others was fresh in my head, I think The Others kind of did a concept like this a little better. There is only so much you can do with a haunted house, and I feel like The Woman in Black really made an effort, and the effort was greatly appreciated. However, like I said, the movie's very uneven. It's slow to start. It gets there, but ultimately, the movie feels very it's a slow burn for how short it is. I hear there is a sequel, The Woman in Black 2, which I've heard nothing but horrible things about, so if I ever do another sequel month, then I will eventually have to cover it. Not looking forward to it. But The Woman in Black 2 was an okay time. I do give it a modest recommendation.